Hey Facebook, hey YouTube, hey wherever else I am streaming. I am live again, so I hope you guys are coming back. I had to disconnect for a minute, but let's see. All right, so I am here today. I wanted to share with you. I'm going to be on for about 30 to probably 45 minutes if I know me, because I tend to go on longer. But here's what you're going to learn today in this Facebook Live. I'm going to teach you, and we're going to talk about not just joy, but we're going to talk about trials. And the reason why I wanted to talk about trials and suffering is because, wow, I mean, look where we are now. And I know that I talk a lot about joy, and I talk a lot about love, and I talk a lot about hope. And the reality is, you know, if you look on your Facebook feed or the news feed anytime, you're going to get some bad news. I mean, there's a lot of bad stuff going on out there. And I just wanted to let you guys know that I'm there with you, and I get it, and we're all in the same common trial, all of us in the entire planet. And so today I'm going to talk about trials, and I'm going to talk about the purpose of them, and I'm also going to talk about the 5 ways that you can persevere through a trial, which is what's going on now. I mean, I know people who have lost loved ones, who've lost coworkers, who've lost their jobs. I've got tons of friends who are independent contractors, they're hairdressers, they're whatever it is that they do, and they don't qualify for any of the loans. They don't qualify for unemployment, and so there's just a lot going on right now. And I'm here to help you make some sense of that. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about, before I jump in, go ahead and tell me hi. Tell me who you are and where you're from, and give me a shout out in the comments. Let's see. I am checking through here. Oops, let me turn that down. Okay. All right. Let's see. Where are you guys? Let's see some comments. Tell me you're here. Say, yes, I want to hear more about trials and joy and what all of this is all about, so I can teach it to you guys. All right. So number 1, let me just tell you the purpose of our trials. All right. So some of you know that I've been doing a ton of research on joy. And part of joy is actually trials and suffering. And so I wanted to dive into that so that you guys could make some sense of, like, why does this stuff happen and what can we do to get the most out of it, right? And hey, Amy. Hi, Sue. Welcome, welcome. And if you hop on here after this, I'm just going to keep going, and so that the people who are watching the replay can get some good quality teaching. All right? All right, so let me talk first about, so what we're going to talk about today is, first we're going to talk about, why do we have trials? What is the purpose of them? What happens when we go through a trial? And then I'm going to talk about 5 things that you can do right now and really for the rest of your life as a way of just being, to endure and persevere trials. So let's start with the first. So as far as why do we have to experience trials? Well, number 1, trials test the strength of our faith. And my dad and I had a healthy conversation about, this, like, wait a minute. So does God make us go through trials to test us, or do trials test our faith? And it's the latter. I mean, God doesn't test us. I mean, we are His children. I mean, we are loved unconditionally. And so it's important to know that the purpose of trials is to test the strength of our faith. Because when we go through a trial and we lean on our faith will grow because it'll help us cope with the trial. There are some people who go through trials and they end up losing their faith. And so I just want you to know that this is an opportunity. Like, trials are an opportunity to be like, okay, if you're Christian, or any religion, to be honest, how much are you leaning on your faith? And it doesn't matter exactly who you believe in that context, right? Or what higher purpose you believe in, right? In this context that I'm talking about, I'll be talking about God and Jesus in the sense of Christianity. That's my perspective. But I can tell you that tons of other religions, tons of other beliefs are based on the same premises that I'm going to tell you today. So don't drop off just because I'm a Jesus girl. Hang in there, because this applies to anyone who believes that there's something bigger than themselves. All right? So number 2, trials humble us. Number 3, trials wean us off worldly things. So let me say that again. Trials wean us off worldly things. That's a little tongue twister. So how many of you out there are already feeling like you're weaned off of some of the material worldly things, because this trial that we're in is giving us perspective, a different perspective? And how many of you out there have already been in a trial and you realized, through that nothing's more important than maybe your child who recovered from an illness? Like, you really get things into perspective, right? All right, so number 4, trials also call us to hope, to external hope, to hope on something bigger than ourselves, to wish that God, that our Creator, would come in and start, solving things for us. Number 5, this is a big one, that trials reveal what we really love. And so with trials, how many of you have been like, wow, like that thing I was really worried about, or that car that I really wanted, or that vacation that I wanted to go on, like none of that matters right now, because my child is safe, or that my mother is healthy, or, that test from the hospital came back negative, right? And so trials helps reveal what we really love. Trials also teach us to value God's blessings. Wow, like that's a big one. That is a big one, guys. It's even, for me, so many things that we are just not content with our lives. And when a virus comes sweeping through the world and not only takes away our health, but it threatens our lives and threatens the lives of loved ones, and then also threatens our livelihood, we can't help but wonder, like, to start looking around and saying, man, what should I just see right in front of me that I can be happy with, that God has already given me? Let me take a sip. All right, so also, trials enable us to help others in their suffering. So wow, like, have you not seen that happening? Right now is like, tomorrow, by the way, is like Global Pay It Forward Day. I don't know if you guys knew that or not. And so what a great time to pay it forward. What a great time to look at the blessings that have been put on your life and go help somebody else in suffering. Just a tiny little thing that we can do. And also trials, man, I don't know about you guys, but I've been through trials, and I see some people on here right now, and you guys are telling me right now, Sue and Patrick, that you've been through some huge trials. And are you stronger for it? Do you have a greater level of endurance for it? Tell me are you able to then handle other challenges even better than you did before? All right, so those are some of the reasons. There's just tons of text and tons of research that back up all these things, but I'm just trying to give you what you need to know right now. All right, so here's the thing that I really wanted to move on to, and I was just doing some of my Bible study, and I came across, in my research on joy, I came across the verse James chapter 1, verse 2. And it says, count it all joy, which is basically pretty mind-blowing when you think about that out in your mind. Just kind of meditate on that and think, count it all joy. count. The word count is also translated as consider it all joy or evaluate it as all joy. And so when you're thinking about trials, we have to count it all as joy. And so the first of the 5 ways to get through trials is to maintain an attitude of joy. This attitude of joy is counting it all as joy. I mean, that is like just like brought me, when I read that verse, it brought me so much comfort. Just knowing that everything should be counted as joy. And I know that right now, a lot of you are thinking, joy, what? Like, I can't think of joy right now. Joy is not a natural response. Joy is not a natural response to to trials. And that's why it's so important to realize that joy is a supernatural emotional state. And so it shouldn't feel natural, because being able to have that kind of joy during trials, during just, tremendous ups and downs is just maintaining that attitude of counting it all as joy. All right, so next, number 2, have an understanding mind. So knowing that the test, the understanding mind concept of it is just having the knowingness, having the understanding that this trial will give you greater patience, will give you greater endurance, will give you greater perseverance in life in general. And then the other ones that come through will just keep growing that perseverance over and over and over again. And if you're wondering, I'm looking at my notes because I did prepare for this. But in my research, this understanding mind concept, this endurance concept, this perseverance, it's like God takes us and he builds us up like a marathon runner, right? A marathon runner doesn't go out and just crush, 23 something miles, 23.1, anyway, but you know what I'm saying. So he gives us little tiny things here and there, like smaller trials and another trial and another trial and another trial. And over time, we build this level of endurance and perseverance. And so I want you to remember that the bigger the battle, the sweeter the victory, right? And can I get an amen on that? Because I know some of you are watching here and you're like, yes, and this is a trial. We are in a trial right now. And it's a big one, right? And so the bigger the battle, the sweeter the victory. All right, number 3. So submissive will. So the only way out of a trial is through it. So there are no shortcuts in a trial. And I'm pretty sure that some of you are really aware of that, right? I got to give Phil a shout out. Thanks for joining. Yes, the joy of the Lord is our strength. Amen. And so there are no shortcuts. and so, basically the submissive will is that, you've probably heard that saying before, the only way out of a problem is to go through it, right? You have to go directly through it, because on the other side of the trial is what's called spiritual maturity. And it's so funny because, I know a lot of spiritual people. I know a ton of people who say, I'm spiritual, not religious, I'm spiritual. I have to say, I used to be very similar to that. I used to be like, I'm just spiritual, And the thing is that I've been through trials, and I have seen and tasted God's sweet victory on my trials now, that I have a level of spiritual maturity that I didn't have 4 or 5 years ago. I didn't have it all. And so it's important to realize that, as you're going through these trials, that you're becoming more complete and more whole as a human being on this planet, right? Okay, so all right, number 4 is you need to have a believing heart to endure trials. A believing heart. Well, what does that mean? It means you need to ask God for the wisdom to get you through the trial. And you need to believe that God will give you that wisdom. God might send people. He might send Facebook Live. I don't know. He might send books. He might send, but somehow he will give you the wisdom that you need to endure the trial. And what's important about this is that, is that when you're being tested, you find your strength in God, right? So there's this question, like I mentioned before, does God give us trials? Is he testing us? It's an opportunity. It's an opportunity to test your own faith. God doesn't have to test you. He's omnipresent. He's omnipotent. He's omniscient. He knows everything. He doesn't need to test you, right? This is you getting to test your own faith. And so, trials, they will bring you to your knees, right? Some of you have heard my stories before where I've talked about, a trial that I went through. And I literally got on my knees. And, thank goodness this Bible was sitting on my nightstand. I hadn't picked it up in years. I had drawn further and further away from God because of alcohol addiction. And man, I woke up. I was sober and I woke up, but I was on my knees, and this is how God spoke to me. God spoke to me. His wisdom came through the word. And so yes, trials will also make your prayers higher quality. You will, I almost skipped one of my pages. Don't do that, Jolynn. So to recap, right, we have 5 ways to get through trials. 1 is to have a joyous attitude, also known as count it all as joy. It doesn't say a little bit here and there, but count it all as joy. Have an understanding mind. Know that the test that you're going through will give you patience, endurance, and perseverance. Number 3, submissive will. Knowing and understanding that the only way out of the trial is through the trial. And that allows you then to build spiritual maturity and your relationship with God. And then 4, have a believing heart. This is when you have to get rid of all doubt. When you pray, you have to pray with absolute certainty. This is not the time to pray in doubt. This is absolute certainty. And ask God for the wisdom to understand, why are you in this trial? Why is this world in this trial right now? Why? And praying and asking for that without any doubt, with unwavering faith, knowing that God has the answers to all things. And then lastly is to just maintain a humble spirit. In James chapter 4, verse 14, it says, life is a vapor that appears for a little time and then vanishes. And I mention this to people because sometimes our egos will make us think that, we're so important, like that we're so critical to the universe, and that we are here for a really long time. But the truth is, you have to cherish every moment, the trials and the suffering, all of it as joy. Because the truth really is that it's like our time on this planet is like vapor. Literally like vapor. And so in that time, we're not to trust in our possessions. We're to trust in our own values and in the wisdom of God. Are you following me? Am I preaching today or what? It's so crazy because I wrote a ton of notes, and I've got just this amazing resources to help me kind of put all of this together. And I jump on here and I really so badly I want to talk about joy in a way that relates to everyone, whether you believe in God or whether you don't believe in God. And it's so crazy because it's really hard to experience that level of joy without God. And in my research, and I'll also share this with you, but on another live, I'm going to share with you the 3 types of joy. And so I'll give you a preview. There's good joy, there's great joy, and there's the greatest joy. And those are broken down, and the greatest joy is that spiritual maturity that I'm talking about right now. And so I just want you guys to know that if you wake up tomorrow and you say, you know what, today I'm going to count it all as joy. I'm going to count it all as joy. Your attitude for the day, your attitude for life, the way you treat people, the resourcefulness that you come up with, the way you treat other people, the way you process the information coming in will fundamentally change if you count it all as joy. So, all right, that's 22 minutes. I did pretty well. But I'm just going to pause there and see if I have any questions or any comments. Thank you guys for listening and for joining in. Sorry for the tech issues in the beginning. Just going to give a few hellos. Hey, Erica, Ricky, Sue, Phil, Shane, Amy. Thank you guys for hanging out. Thank you so much. Do you have any questions? And by the way, tomorrow is Pay It Forward Day. And so I am actually going to do a open Zoom. I have 100 spots in my Zoom conference room. And I know you guys are like, I've been on Zoom all day long, but I'm going to pay it forward on Pay It Forward Day. And I'm going to invite 100 people to do free coaching with me for a couple of hours tomorrow afternoon. So if you're interested in that, just put your name in the comments and I'll send you a link to the private Zoom room. And we will talk about mindset. We'll talk about how to manage your thoughts during these times. I will answer questions. I will go deep into your concerns. Whatever it is, we will take the time to do it in over a 2-hour Zoom tomorrow on Pay It Forward Day. So I didn't know. Did you guys know it was Pay It Forward Day tomorrow? That was kind of new news to me. All right, so let me just check here for some comments. And let's see. Jennifer, Mike, hello. Thank you. Thanks, Ricky, Jorge, Andrew, Jess. Hey, guys. You'll have to go back and watch the replay for sure. And I appreciate, some of you may or may not know, but I've been working on joy, and I'm actually also writing a book. And so just to give you some progress on that, because it'll hold me accountable to keep moving forward. But I have my book outline completed, and this is some of the material that I'm looking at putting in the book. Basically, this whole journey to joy is going from a primal emotion to a power emotion. And what I mean power is just a power of light, right? And so there are different levels of emotions, and some of them are just very primal. We're in this very survival aspect of our life. It's fear, it's shame, it's despair, it's anger, it's hate, it's pessimism, right? That's kind of your primal fears, those things that are meant to just keep you safe. And then there are these power kind of states, and that's love and hope and optimism and joy and enlightenment. And that's the journey that I'm working on in my book, to take you from that primal to power. So if there aren't any questions, it's pretty late here, and 9:30 here. Where are you guys at? Let's see. Zoom coaching call. Pay It Forward Day. All right. Awesome. Yeah. All right. So once again, I'll do the plug for the Pay It Forward Day. So I'm going to do a live Zoom call in a private room, 100 people, and it probably won't be 100 people, just saying. That's all the spots that are in the Zoom room. It'll probably be closer to 50. Who knows? Because, God does crazy things sometimes, right? But I do a lot of these live calls, and I get a lot of people who message me after, and they're like, I wish you could help me with this, and they wish you could coach me with that. And so I'm just wanting to pay it forward and give you the opportunity to hop on a Zoom tomorrow. So just put your name, put yes in the comments, and I will send you a link to the Zoom room. All right, guys? Okay. All right. Peace out. Peace out, everyone. Bye.